Hi folks, welcome to Crisco's Corner. Are you tired of the same old blah 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 from the media? Do you like unfiltered commentary? Would you like to go back to the days when our rights meant something? Well, you've come to the right place, Crisco's Corner. The fight to get back the ideals of our founders will be long and hard. Please support the channel by subscribing. And as always, thank you for your support. Hi folks, welcome back to Crisco's Corner. As you can see on the screen here, we have 4 iconic brands in the United States and in the world for that matter, all originated from the U.S. Aunt Jemima since 1889. Cream of Wheat since 1893. These brands, and mostly people of color, even they call Mrs. Butterworth a person of color. Why, I don't know, because there isn't any white maple syrup, but I digress. I think this episode is going to be called, Who Are the Real Racists? What's the old saying? It's not what you say, it's what you do. And actions speak louder than words. It means the same. What you are is what you do, not what you say. And these brands and our history is under attack. Advertising is a major part of culture. And over time, there's been some advertisements, as you're going to see one here from Cream of Wheat, that's totally unacceptable in today's society. And we've corrected that. And there's old pictures of Aunt Jemima that probably aren't a good idea. And over time, the company has upgraded her picture. She was a real woman, by the way. Her family is real PO'd. And I believe the Uncle Ben gentleman, Uncle Ben's there. It's an older black gentleman with a bow tie. Same with the Cream of Wheat individual. I believe Uncle Ben was actually a real chef. And his family's PO'd too. And the leftists mostly have done all this. And what they've done is take these iconic images from our past, images that are part of who we are, both good and bad. And they're taking those and they're taking them away for good. Taking them away for good. From our history, from our culture, from our society. It's tragic, it's unfortunate, and it's racist. Racist. If you notice that all these brands that are being relabeled and renamed are all people of color. You don't see the Little Debbie logo. You don't see the Morton Salt girl with the dogs grabbing her pants. You don't see any of those things being taken down. Only people of color that depict a part of our American heritage, our culture, and our history, and still do. And still do. The companies are caving into the woke crowd. And I have to say, honestly, it's getting complicated now trying to figure out the left. There's these progressives, which we all know about. They're bat blank crazy. There's the normal Democrats, which are becoming smaller and smaller, or quieter and quieter, depending how you look at it. Then there's the leftists. And I would say a good half, if not 2/3 of the leftists, are true racists. They're the leftists that in Seattle have separate rooms in the public library there. One for blacks, one for whites, and one for mixed. So I guess they have a DNA test to see how much you're mixed. This is what leftists do. They are the new modern version of racists. So let's go through a couple of these here. We'll go through Aunt Jemima first. Here's a old photo, an old advertisement clip of Aunt Jemima. Now, I remember a lot of these changes when I was a kid. Aunt Jemima makes a damn good product. There's buckwheat pancakes. Now, she had the typical scarf that some said were from the slavery times, and I know a lot of old women that wore scarves. And the funny part was, I always think fondly of Aunt Jemima when I see the photo or I see the label in a store. My kindergarten teacher was a black woman that looked very much like her. In fact, it looked exactly like her. And I remember her as one of the kindest, gentlest, and one of the best teachers I ever had. I was 4 years old, which makes it 1960. Supposedly in a terribly racist time. And there she was in a medium-sized city, and hold your breath now, Christopher Columbus School. That school was in a section of town. It was mostly Italians and mostly blacks. And some others mixed in as well. I remember from this school, I wish I could remember her name. Oh, God, I feel so badly. What a wonderful woman. Wonderful woman. I remember I was a little boy, and I was sick that day in school, and I had an accident. I kind of urinated in the seat there where I was sitting in class, and she was so kind and so nice, took my hand, had one of the male teachers bring me into the bathroom, washed out, tried out my undergarments and pants, and I was embarrassed, I remember, and I didn't feel good that day, and they had my mother come over and pick me up. I lived about 4 or 5 blocks from there. We all used to walk to school. And they made me feel really good. And I remember her fondly. What a great woman. And this is what part of our culture is, part of our history. We associate advertisements and photos with people in our lives and events in our lives. Now, here's an older black and white photo of the actual woman, I believe. That was she was in the advertisements when it got a little bit more modern with photography and then later TV. And she had the typical scarf towel on her head. And people take offense to this. I see no problem with it at all. In fact, I gasp when I see this picture because she looks exactly like my teacher. And I knew no more of a kind and giving woman I've ever had for a teacher, and it was my kindergarten class. So that was before I really got into school. So I got a little teary-eyed there because I remember her fondly. What a great woman. And these leftist monsters want to take that away. Now let's take a look at how they want to change Aunt Jemima. It's, to me, it's unbelievable. It's disgusting, and I'm sorry that I'm carrying on, and maybe this video might be longer than I normally would like. This is what they're doing. On the left is what it used to look like. And look at those pictures on the left. Over time, the company and culture has changed. We've gotten better. We've gotten a lot less racist. As a society, we've come a long, long way. Even Barack Obama said about 10 odd years ago, we've come 90% of the way as far as race goes and racism. We've got that little bit of 10% to go. And that's since the 1960s. This is in my lifetime. And on the right is going to be the new Pearl Milling Company original. And if you notice in a little print, it says, same great taste as Aunt Jemima along with the syrup. An iconic photo. Again, a person of color taken away. A person of color taken off. Now let's take a look at something that I think is totally inappropriate and to give you an idea how far we've come. The photo on the left is an advertisement for cream of wheat. And I'm going to read it because I think it's worth discussing. Maybe cream of wheat ain't got no vitamins. I don't know what them things is. If there's bugs, they ain't none in cream of wheat, but she's so good to eat and cheap. Cost about 1 cent to a great big dish. Rastus. Well, that's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. And it is racist. And it does suck. But look on the right. Look on the right. This is how far we've come. And these leftists and a lot of progressives don't want to admit this. How far we've come. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing how far this country has come. We are the most diverse nation on earth. So naturally we'll have more race relation problems than in the world. Look at the left, wrong. Look at the right, correct, right. We are the least racist nation on earth. And those of you that laugh and say, oh, John, you're so full of crap, you conservative idiots. You haven't been around the world much, my friend. Try to go just as close as you can here to our country right next to us, Mexico, and see how the darker-skinned people are treated over the ones that look white. Look at the last 3 or 4 Mexican presidents. They look white to me. The darker ones, or the original natives, are treated like crap and second-class citizens there, and still are to this day. Because the vast majority of Mexicans are white-looking. Why? Because they're descendants of the Spanish conquistadors, who were one of the most evil monsters in the world. Spain and Portugal were the worst when it came to enslaving people and how they treated Native Americans. Now, granted, the United States is no saint either, but compared to them, we are, and we've come a long, long way. Look at the photo on the left and look at the photo on the right. Folks, that's called progress. And that's something they don't want to admit. They don't want to admit progress. Not at all. Not at all. It's iconic. An iconic brand, an iconic photo. I'm sure that they know who the gentleman is that posed for the original picture. And look at that. That probably you have to guess is from the 1930s. I don't see any stereotype there. And that's from the 1930s, folks. It's part of our culture. It's part of our history. And the racist leftists are taking it away. Now let's look at another brand here that I think is worth looking at. And that is Mrs. Buttersworth. Mrs. Butterworth is, if you're a kid, it's amazing syrup. It's really, really good. And there what it looks like in the store. Used to be in glass bottles when I was a kid. And they consider her a person of color. And they're going to be changing this as well. Just like Aunt Jemima is going to go away. This is part of our culture as well. With the commercials with the animated Mrs. Butterworth talking, and they remind you of the great aunt or grandmother you had that made you breakfast and took care of you when you were a kid and looked out for you. It reminded you of your childhood. And who doesn't want to go back to that? So we're going to take Mrs. Butterworth and we're just going to throw her in the ash heap because of racism. Because she's considered non-white because of her color. Well, because maple syrup isn't white. So we're going to take Mrs. Butterworth and we're just going to chuck it. It's wrong and it's racist. Let's move on. Let's move on to Uncle Ben's. One of the most iconic brands of American history. I'm stumbling for my words here because, and there he is, Uncle Ben. Now, my understanding is the gentleman that posed for this was a real chef, a real cook, and a good one, damn good one. And he's been on the Uncle Ben's logo. I'm sure his family, I believe they still get royalties. They are PO'd. I'm not going to talk plain English. They're pissed. How would you like to have a relative as iconic as that? And then these white progressives and leftists, mostly leftists, say, we're taking off another person of color from our culture and calling it progress. Yeah, I'd be pissed too. And here at Uncle Ben, it's just going to be something else now. An iconic photo of an elderly, a black gentleman with a bow tie. Because they say a black gentleman with a bow tie looks like a servant, and we don't want that. He's not a servant at all. He was a real chef, a real cook, and a damn good one from what I understand. And now he's gone. You see a pattern here? You see a pattern that everybody of color is getting wiped off? Do you see it? Do you see a pattern? I certainly do. And now here's going to be the new Uncle Ben's logo. Going to take the gentleman that's been on there for over 100 years, and they're going to change it into this new box. We listened. We learned. We're changing. Moving forward, Uncle Ben's will be known as Ben's Original. No photo. Again, a person of color taken off our culture. This is better. This is better. It's racist and it's nonsense. And his family is really pissed. Really pissed. So what are we to do? What are we to do here? Now, the funny part is, who's raising the most hell about all these changes? Conservative people are like, hey, that's their company. They can do what they want. They think it's stupid. They want to keep it the same. This is progress. This is progress. And this might seem trivial. Well, John, it's just cream of wheat and Mrs. Buttersworth and Aunt Jemima and Uncle Ben's, and who cares? It's syrup. It's rice. It's other products. People of color are being erased from our advertising, which means they'll be erased from our culture. As I said, Coca-Cola, for all intents and purposes, invented the current modern-day Santa Claus. What about Little Debbie? What about the Morton Salt girl? What about the Wendy's girl? Those, they don't get touched. Because these new leftists are the true racists. And I'm pissed. Because I'm a huge history fan, especially history in the United States, above all else. And this is a reminder. If you see the old labels like the racist one with cream of wheat and see the current one, how far we've come. And they don't want, these leftists and progressives do not want people to understand how far we've come and how much less racist we are and how much more tolerant we are. And we are the least racist and most tolerant country that ever existed. These morons just don't know it. And they're erasing people of color from our history. Like Mrs. Aunt Jemima there, the older one, reminded my kindergarten teacher. I'm 64, and I got teary-eyed thinking about her. And so do millions of other people that associate themselves with these products and these photos and symbols. I'm old enough to remember every Christmas, the little Santa Claus that used to go down the Norco Razor down the hill. And there's tons of iconic things that are part of our culture. And these racist leftists are taking it away. It's amazing to me. And they use terms like, well, we'll see what the black community wants to do. Black people don't all think alike. No more than white people don't all think alike, or Hispanic people all think alike. Women don't all think alike, and men don't all think alike. They put people in boxes, and they are the true racists. And I take personal offense to this nonsense. It may seem trivial, but when you really think about it, They're trying to erase our history. And we're saying nothing to stop it. Somebody say, this is enough. No more racists. Get out of our culture. Get out of our history. And get out of our politics. And until next time, folks, goodbye and good luck.